Hello friends, how are you doing today? My name is Mary and this is Happily Ever Esch. How are you all doing today? I hope that you are doing so well. I am going to be sharing with you guys the books that I have recently been reading and then also what I plan on picking up this week. So the first book that I have recently finished is The Accusation, and this is by Bandy. This is a collection of short stories from North Korea written by an anonymous author who is still living in the country today. Which is just amazing that we even have access to these stories. At the end of the book you can read about how the stories were brought to the rest of the world, and it is absolutely amazing. I don't want to give that away because I enjoyed reading about it after reading the stories, but I thought that these stories were wonderful. Just the perspective that they offer is so amazing. We do have not a ton, but we have some memoirs and stories from defectors or people who have escaped from North Korea, and those are so important and amazing that we can read those. But I think fiction work is different. I think it offers a different perspective and can do different things, especially since these stories have kind of a satirical feel to them, but they are based on real life, on this person's experiences, and that's just, it's crazy. You feel like George Orwell wrote this. Like, it feels like a dystopian set of stories, but you just have to keep reminding yourself that this is real. There are people living under this regime, and it's just, it blows my mind every time that I think that I've gotten to read these stories and read from this perspective. It's just amazing, and the bravery that was in giving these stories to the world. I mean, it's just, it's beyond. So just for that simple fact alone, I think that this collection is worth picking up, but it is beautifully written. The author has a very simplistic way of writing, but it also really packs a punch, and I don't know how he manages to do both of those things, but he does. He talks beautifully both about the landscape but the people, so you feel and can sense the love for the physical country of North Korea, the landscape, the different towns. You can really feel that, but then also the spirits of the people, I just think, just shine beautifully through, even though they're grappling and dealing with some really tough things. Definitely suggest this collection for anyone who loves short stories, interested in North Korea, interested in Asian literature. Any of those things, you should definitely pick this up. The collection can be read just as like the only book that you're reading. You could read straight through. The stories are their own independent things, but they flow together well enough just to read the whole thing, or it would be really good to put in between and you can kind of read each story and break it up. I think that reading it either way, you still are really going to get a lot of benefit from these stories. There's a lot to think about, and it's just, it's so amazing. I'm so glad that I read this collection. I will definitely be purchasing a copy for myself, but yeah, definitely go and check this collection out. It's really great. And I did want to mention that the author's pen name is Bandy, so it's written by him, but Bandy is based off the North Korean word for firefly. And I just thought, what a cool concept, and just really an ingenious pen name, that this person is still living in Korea. They have not been able to escape North Korea, but they can be this little light in this darkness that really is the North Korean regime. Both darkness in that we don't have a lot of information about what's going on there, but also darkness for the people and just kind of the oppressiveness of it, and that there is this small light being shed on that. I just thought that that pen name is just crazy beautiful. But yeah, definitely go pick this up. It's so worth the read and so worth your time, and it's really not that long. It would not take you too long to get through. I don't know if there's an audiobook for this, but I think listening to this could also be really cool as well. So if you're into audiobooks, maybe check that out. Next thing that I finished was the Amulet series. This is book 1, The Stonekeeper, and this is by Kazu Kibushi. There is the name right there. This was a recommendation from Jen over at Jen the Librarian. I'll put her channel up there and down below. She's not a huge fan of graphic novels, and I really haven't been either. I wasn't thinking that I was going to pick anything else up this year just because I've been enjoying some of them, but they haven't been anything really special. But she really raved about this series, and I can see why. It's middle grade, which I think just translates well to the graphic novel form. But also the story is just really good. this is definitely a first in the series. It's a lot of setup to the world and just some world building that we're having to do, but I cannot wait to read the rest of the series because I can tell that it's just going to be a lot of fun. So we follow our two main protagonists who have recently moved to their great-grandfather's kind of old, dilapidated house in the woods, and they kind of get sucked into this parallel universe, and they go on an adventure to save their mother. There's a lot of really fun side characters in this. I love that the kids kind of have to save the day. The landscape drawings, like the nature in this land is drawn so beautifully, so you can see the old house, but they're in this like valley with the waterfalls. So I really loved the nature drawings in this, and I'm excited to continue on and see how the author progresses with this world. There's also some creepy monsters in this, but it's a lot of fun. I'm excited to finally find a graphic novel series that I think I can really love, and so I'm really excited to continue on with these. So really fun and fast-paced. I read it in like 30 minutes. It did not take long at all, but was super compelling. And I'm, like I said, left on a pretty big cliffhanger, so I'm ready to pick the next one up from my library soon. Next book I listened to audiobook and then finished physically, and that is The Winner's Crime. This is the second one in Marie Rutowski's The Winners series. I really like this series. It is YA, and I would call it fantasy, but it doesn't have magical elements in the sense there's like spells or magical powers or supernatural powers, nothing like that, but it is set in a fantasy world. There's a lot of political intrigue in this, which is right up my street. I love it when fantasy has some good political intrigue, and this is YA, so it's not like super intense or anything, but some fun political intrigue in this, some fun war strategy. I love where the story is going. I love where Marie Rutowski left off in this second novel. It was a super brave twist. But yeah, there is a lot of lovey-dovey in this. There's a lot of kind of that romance tension, but I think it's a lot of fun, and it was compelling enough that I couldn't wait for the audiobook to finish, and I had to check it out and read it because I was just getting impatient. But I really love Kestrel and Aaron as main characters. I love the different cultures that Marie Rutowski has pulled together to create the people groups in this, and I love the diversity in the different representation of her people groups in this, and just the different areas of land and the kind of things that she's created. I think is really cool. I also love the family dynamic in this. It's crazy and important, and I don't think that in a lot of other YA fantasy that I've read how important the family dynamic is, so I really appreciated that in this, and I thought it was a really realistic representation of a family dynamic in a YA story. Rutowski's writing is very beautiful and kind of flowery at some points. It's not always super deep, but the way that she personifies things and explains things is very beautiful. And like I said, the audiobook was really good, and so I have the third book in this series checked out, ready to go, and also the audiobook as well. So I'm excited to continue on with this. I think they're fun, and like I said, if you're into political intrigue and just kind of power plays, I think that you would really like this series. So fun, fast-paced, addicting, and I'm so excited to finish the series. Last book that I picked up was Robin from the Driftless Readers book club pick. She's doing kind of a blast from the past historical fiction book club. It's a lot of fun, and I will link her channel here, and then the Goodreads group I'll put down below in case you're interested in joining in, either for this month or any succeeding month after this. But her pick for this month was Lily de Jong, I'm not exactly sure, and this is by Janet Benton. This is historical fiction set in the late 1800s, primarily looking at women who were unwed and pregnant during this time period. And our main protagonist is Lily, and she is a young Quaker who has recently lost her mother. There's a lot of changes in her life, and she ends up being pregnant. She's not married, and it's just what her life would have been like, or the imaginings of what someone's life in this time would have been like. I really loved Lily as a main character. She is writing her story down like in her diary, telling her experiences, so you really get to hear her voice, the things that she would have internally been struggling with. And I just thought what a way to tell her story, because you get to hear what she's battling with and what she's thinking, and I really appreciated that perspective. I also loved the way the author portrayed male choice in this and how integral it was to women's lives, like how tied women's lives were to the choices that men were making. And it's not like the choices that men were making for the women, but just the choices that the men were making, and then how those affected the women in their lives. And so we see this through Lily's baby's father, we see this through her own father, we see this with her male employer. So just how tied Lily's life is to these choices, and how frustrating that would have been. I also loved the female friendship in this, especially and later in the novel when Lily is employed somewhere, the friendships that she makes and how important they were, and what a difference they made in Lily's life. I was also very intrigued by the church in this. So Lily is a Quaker, and there's so many positive things that the Quakers are doing in the society, and the things that they're doing to kind of break some of these stereotypes. But it was also so disappointing to see how, like, with those good intentions, still the constraints with this religion and like with the society that they were in, and just how much more they could have been doing for people. I don't know, I enjoyed kind of thinking through that, and thinking through like how Lily's story could have been different if the church had come alongside her and loved her through her pregnancy and having her baby. But yeah, there's a lot of great female characters in this. Enjoyed it a lot. So this is also a pretty new release. It just came out in May, but I definitely think if that sounds interesting to you, historical fiction, motherhood, feminist themes in here for sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think if you are a mother, that this would be something that you could really identify with, just some of the struggles that Lily's going through. And I think having a child would probably offer a whole new perspective to this story. So definitely recommend it. It was really, really enjoyable. Next are the things that I plan on picking up throughout this week. And the first one, I'm still working my way through. It's All a Game, The History of Board Games from Monopoly to Settlers of Catan, and this is by Tristan Donovan. This is a micro history all about games. I'm working my way slowly through this. Each chapter kind of follows its own different games. So there's ones about Monopoly, Clue, chess. They're all kind of like their own individual essays. And so it's pretty easy just to fit this in whenever you want, but it's not really something I'm sitting down and just reading straight through. But I really enjoyed some of the different chapters on this. The one about Clue I think was one of my favorites. I also really enjoyed the one about Monopoly, but I enjoy how Tristan is really tying this into the history and showing how history has shaped games, but also how the games sometimes have shaped history. And so it's really interesting. If you like board games, I think that you would like this book. And yeah, I'm hoping to finish it this month, but like I said, working my way slowly through it, and I am totally fine with that. Next is one that I am going to pick up today after filming this video, and that is A Kind of Freedom by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton. This is a multi-generational family novel set in New Orleans. It follows Evelyn, who's a Creole woman who's living in like World War II time, and then it follows her two descendants. And I think this is really looking at how Jim Crow law affects not only Evelyn, but her children and her children's children, and it sounds like it's going to be beautiful. This is a super new release. It just came out in August, so I think it'll be fun to read it while it's still buzzy and super new. And it sounds absolutely wonderful. It is barely 200 pages, and so I hope to read it pretty quickly, but I think that this little guy is going to pack quite the punch. So those are the books that I've been enjoying lately. I would love to know what you have been reading. If you've read any good things or anything you're excited to pick up this week, I would love to chat with you guys about it in the comments. I hope that you're all having a great day. I hope that you're going to have a wonderful week. Wishing that all for all you guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye. I have to share with you guys my recent obsession. I've been making iced chai tea lattes, and I'm obsessed. So I'm gonna put the recipe down below in case anyone is wondering. My husband took a drink of this today and he's like, it tastes like Christmas, and he's so right. It's so spicy and yummy, but it's still cold. So when you're wanting those like fall winter vibes but it's still hot outside, I've been obsessed. So good, and I'm gonna put it down there and you should check it out because it's so easy to make. I was like blown away and it tastes delicious. So anyway, talk to you later.